What is up, guys? It's Max Merc here, and today I am extremely excited to be making this video because I've been waiting almost 5 years for this moment, and that is to reveal my dream car, or at least what's been my dream car since pretty much the beginning of high school, about 5 years ago. And I have no idea what the title of this video is going to be because it can fall under so many categories. Oh, I bought my dream car at 18, or oh, I bought the cheapest so-and-so in the country. It falls under that as well. Or I bought the highest mileage so-and-so in the country. Falls under that category as well. Or maybe I can say, oh, this is the last of the so-and-so engine, because it is that as well. So as you can see, this car falls under a lot of categories, and I really am going to be struggling to think of a title. And believe it or not, this is actually the third time this car has shown up on my channel in various videos. The first two I had borrowed for YouTube to make a video, and this one is finally my own car. And those of you who follow my car Instagram at MaxMerc63 would already know what the car this is, because I've had it for almost 4 months now. I've put almost 7,000 miles on it, and it's already broken on me twice. So that could be another potential title for this video. I bought so-and-so and it broke twice within the first 2 weeks. So without further ado, let me stop talking and just show you guys this car, because I know I may not seem as excited, but I've had the car for 4 months now, put 7,000 miles on it. It's already kind of sunken in, but for the first pretty much month of ownership, it felt surreal, and I kind of kicked myself for not making this video then, but you know, now at least I have some more stuff to talk about with this car. I've owned it for about 4 months now, put a lot of miles on it, and I can kind of give more of my own perspective as an owner at this point. As you can see, it is a 2012 Mercedes C63 AMG Sedan, and those of you with a keen eye will notice that I've put C63 Edition 507 wheels on it. So in my opinion, these are pretty much my favorite set of wheels for this car. I love the look, and I actually had a friend from school who had a set of these. These are actually replicas. They came off of his car that I believe got into an accident, so I picked them up off of him. As you probably saw in my last garage update, they were on my CLK for quite a time until I finally got this car, put them on here, and although they're replicas, I haven't really had any problems with them. They look great. However, unfortunately, winter is coming, and as you can see, this tire is kind of going a little bit flat. I believe there's a nail on it or something's going on with it, but these tires are pretty much done anyway, so these wheels got to come off and the OEM wheels got to go on, and they've got a nice set of Michelin Pilot Sport All Season 3+ all around, so this should be pretty good in the colder weather. And over here to my right, I've got a shipment from FCP Euro. It's time to do my second service on this car. So as you can see, we've got a bunch of goodies. We've got Liqui Moly 5W40 full synthetic motor oil. We've got a bunch of additives, Ceratec, which is kind of like a ceramic coating for your engine. It's very good stuff. Comes from Liqui Moly, fcpeuro.com. I'm not sponsored by them in any way. I wish I was, so if they're interested in that, you know, feel free to hit me up. I'll definitely need it with this car. We've got the OEM Mercedes air filter, pretty much all OE brand products. This is the oil filter. In here we got a bunch of additives, you know, engine flush. However, the important one right here is hydraulic lifter additive, because those of you who know this car really well, or at least on the forums or other owners of this engine, the 6.2 or 6.3, it's actually a 6.2 liter V8, they have some sort of it's a very temperamental engine. You know, overall solid engine, but it loves to make its own kind of noises. So the camshaft lifters or adjusters, I'm not sure exactly what it is that causes the noise, but you know, as they gain a little bit higher mileage, they get a little noisy. And that hydraulic lifter additive, I heard, helps with it. So I'm gonna pour some in, you know, see what kind of difference it makes, if any at all. But it's a very intermittent problem, you know, really doesn't affect anything. It's just kind of a annoying sound at a cold startup occasionally. Okay, enough about those goodies. I'm going to be servicing the car, doing that stuff later in this video, but let me talk about the car itself. So I bought it in the end of June. So I had, as you saw in my my previous video, the garage update, I had the CLS, my E36, my mom had her C300. Sold all three of those cars in the pretty much throughout the month of June. So first to go was my CLS 500. I pretty much sold them all private party through Craigslist. I got $5 grand for my CLS, which was pretty good. You know, I bought the car for $2,500, put quite a bit of money into it, drove it, put about 15,000 miles on the car, thoroughly enjoyed it, and I really didn't lose much money on it. So I sold it for $5 grand. I was probably like 6 into it, so you know, I drove the car, put 15,000 miles on it, and only lost about $1 grand. So I consider that a win. Maybe not, you know, in terms of profit, I didn't make a profit on that car, but I really didn't lose anything from driving that car, daily driving that car for a year. Of course, I still have my CLK. My mom is now daily driving that until we can find her something to replace the C300. We still have my dad's Jetta, of course. My E36, or actually my C300 was the next to go. My mom's 08 C300. Sold that private party as well. Moving on to my E36, my 1993 325 IS. This car I really didn't want to sell, but I didn't have much choice. You know, I needed money for my dream car, the C63. It was a great car, that E36, but I sold it for $3,000, which is it's a good price for what that car was. You know, the next owner definitely got, you know, a great platform of an E36 if you wanted to build it into a drift car, you know, a track car, anything, or if you just wanted to daily drive it, which is what I think he was going to do with it. But, you know, overall it was a great car. I really missed that car. You know, I miss all of them, but now that I have this, you know, it's a little easier to forget about those cars. The way I think about it is it's a combination of all of them. You know, it's a W204 C-Class, like my old C300. You know, it's got the luxury of my old CLS. It's a little loud, it's a little playful, like the E36. So it's just a wonderful combination of all three of those cars. But now let's talk about the car. So the car is a 2012 C63, like I said. Now the kicker with this car is that it is a very, very high mileage example. So I bought the car with about 131,000 miles, which is a lot for a C63 2012. However, the thing is, though, it was a one-owner car, clean Carfax, you know, nothing on the title, no accidents, no damage, nothing. You know, it had been serviced pretty much every 6 months, you know, transmission service, differential service, all that stuff at my local Mercedes-Benz dealership about 30-35 minutes away. That really made me feel better. You know, I worked at the dealership, you know, I know what it means to spend that kind of money on this car, and whoever it was really cared about it. As you can see, they didn't drill their front plate into it. They actually had a tow hook mount that I proceeded to take off because I think it ruins the body of the car. But let me just close the hood real quick and show you this. The previous owner had a clear bra. I don't know if you guys can see it. I really don't know if you guys can see it, but the owner has a clear bra that extends all throughout the front of the car, onto the fender, pretty much all throughout here, the front bumper, the headlights, extends all throughout here. It's a little bit chewed up, and it's you know, it's done its job very well. However, I'm not going to be removing it because, you know, I know how much a paint protection film costs, and this is a really good quality one, and it still looks great. I have really no reason to take it off, so I'm just going to leave it on the car until, you know, one day it starts to crack or one day it starts to look really bad, and then hopefully by then I'll reapply some sort of paint protection film as well, because whatever's underneath there is, you know, really protected, and I want to keep it that way. Everything else with the car is absolutely immaculate. You know, as we look at the body of the car, the body of the car is pretty much perfect. However, the only thing that's really wrong with the car is there's one little nick right here, and that is the only defect that I have found throughout the entire car, which is pretty amazing. You know, the wheels themselves, the OEM wheels, are in absolutely great condition. You know, he had a nice set of tires on here. He really cared about this car. It's a one owner. Serviced it. You know, just before I bought it, he had brakes done all around. So whoever it was really cared about this car. And if we go ahead and take a look inside, I hope you guys can see how great condition these seats are. I mean, if you look at the bolsters, everything, I mean, it's beautiful. You know, the leather's in great condition. You know, it's for a 130,000 mile seat. This looks immaculate. And if we look in the passenger seat, you know, we can say the same over there. You know, even looking at the steering wheel, it's in great condition. You know, nothing's really faded. You know, all the buttons are in excellent shape. You know, the screen, everything's perfect. If we come to the back seat, I mean, this literally looks like it's never been sat in. I've actually figured out a couple things about this car that actually make it a little bit more special than your typical C63. So first thing I found out is that this car is a special order, meaning that the previous owner special ordered it new, and with that they got a couple of cool options. So they got the first one being the Mercedes Intelligent Light System. So you got xenon LED headlights up front, very nice stuff. With that comes, you know, active curve light illumination. You know, on winding roads you turn the wheel, the headlights themselves are active, and then you have adaptive high beam, which is a great feature. He also had keyless go, which is nice. He also had the lane tracking package, which comes with blind spot monitoring, lane keeping assist. If we hop in the car, another option he got was this, which is the power rear sunshade. And the most important option to me was that he spec'd out the limited slip rear differential. So I don't know if you know much about these cars. You know, they came in a lot of different variations. You had the P30, the performance or the AMG development package that, you know, bumped up your horsepower, got you some cool stuff. And one of those things was the limited slip differential. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty, but with the facelift, you were able to get the limited slip differential without getting the performance package and getting it as a standalone option, whereas on the pre-facelift, you had to get the P30 performance package. But I lucked out in the sense that this car has a limited slip differential because there's really no other way I'd want to have a C63. You know, I don't want a C63 with an open diff. You know, I know how well these cars can, you know, slide and handle their power with a limited slip differential, and, you know, that's one of the first modifications people do. So, you know, I told myself right off the bat, if I can get a car with a limited slip differential, I'll be very happy. And overall, you know, the car is in excellent condition, drives very well, it's been perfectly maintained. The only thing is that it's high mileage, but kind of with that, it kind of makes me feel better in the sense that I can put a ton of miles on this car carefree. But I bought it with 131,000 miles, and we are about 137,700, so almost 7,000 miles on this car in the course of 4 months, which is a lot. Done a couple road trips with it, done a lot of driving, and it's just a great driving car. I absolutely love it. Now, kind of getting back into my buying experience, I was originally going to buy a 2010 C63 with the P30 performance package, and it was located in Ohio, I believe. So it was going to be pretty far away. I would have to fly there to drive the car back. That car had clean title and everything as well. However, it was a Canadian car, which is not really a big deal to me, but it had everything I wanted. However, it was a pre-facelift, and with the 2008 through 2010 63s, all of them with the M156 engine here, they had a pretty common issue with the head bolts that would go bad, you know, as you kind of got higher mileage. Luckily, Mercedes fixed that for 2011, and a lot of people with the pre-facelift or with the affected engines, they would just go ahead and replace the head bolts, but that's a very expensive job, you know, $3,000–4,000, and that pre-facelift C63 was about $3,000–4,000 cheaper. So I told myself I can save that money up front, get the pre-facelift with the P30 performance package in the color I like, gray, or I could, you know, spend that money up front and get a bunch of more features that I'd like. And keep in mind, that car had 117, almost 120,000 miles, so 10,000 miles less. Not too different, but it was a little cheaper. But with the facelift car, I would have gotten a lot more in the sense, you know, LED headlights, tail lights, adaptive everything, you know, all the safety, the blind spot monitoring, stuff like that. And I would sleep a little bit better at night knowing that my engine's not, you know, affected by the whole head bolt issue. Let me give you guys a close-up of the engine bay. You know, everything's very pristine. You know, it's starting to get a little bit dirty. I've done a lot of driving with this car, but I actually found my engine builder on Instagram. His name is Sasha Buringer, which is pretty cool. So thank you very much, Mr. Sasha. Now let's move on to my issues side of this car. So a week after I bought it, I put about 1,000 miles on this car, and I actually went to my mechanic. I introduced my friend to my mechanic, and as we were leaving, or as I left, I received a text from him with a picture of a little puddle where my car was parked, and he said, "Dude, your car's leaking." And I was pretty certain there's no way that this could have been my car. You know, it's probably something else. You know, it's a mechanic. There's definitely other cars coming and going. So I go home, park the car, go upstairs, you know, run some errands, come back down about half an hour later. I look at the car, and there's a little puddle underneath the car, of course. I do a little bit of further investigating. It's not motor oil, and my initial thought was coolant. So I thought it was coolant, but I dug a little bit deeper. It wasn't coolant, until finally I noticed that it was the brake caliper that was leaking. Brake fluid. So I took it apart. I'll put some pictures in here, but found out that it's actually leaking from one of the pistons, and as you know, an AMG, I believe it's a 6-piston caliper, is very expensive. So I took it right back to the dealership that I bought it from and said, look, a car should not pass the Maryland safety inspection if it is going to go ahead and turn around and start leaking out of the brake caliper. You know, this is not how a car should be. You know, regardless of the mileage, if a car passed the safety inspection, it should be sold in pretty much working, you know, mechanically working order for a reasonable period of time. And this was a week after I bought the car. So I guess them knowing that, you know, this is not a good situation, you know, thankfully they decided to help me out with this. They got a brand new caliper from Mercedes. They told me it was an $1,100 caliper. I'm sure they got it for cheaper than that, but still an $1,100 caliper nonetheless. And I actually bought it from an Audi dealership, so, you know, I fully trust them with this kind of car. You know, they work on RS models, S models, Audis. So they took care of the brake caliper in-house. Got it back about a week later because the parts took a while to come from Germany. So I was good to go with that, but I was out of the car for a week, which was very painful after I had bought it. And then my next issue comes about a week later when I'm doing my first oil change on the car. So I'm about to do my second oil change on the car with this stuff now, but my first one was about 4 months ago. So while doing my first oil change, you know, I saw online that the C63s have a oil cooler that's actually pretty accessible while doing an oil change, and that a lot of people drain the oil cooler as well. Me being me, I go ahead and open up the drain plug for the oil cooler. It's exactly the same as the main drain plug, all that stuff. Very simple to get to, easy. Do that, drain the oil cooler. And actually, when I pulled out the drain plug, I noticed that some of the threads on the bolt were actually stripped. So that was kind of alarming, but I didn't think much of it until after it was done draining. I went to go put the drain plug back in, and of course it's cross-threaded. It just keeps spinning and spinning and spinning, and there's nothing I can do. I put oil in the car, it's just gonna spew back out. Can't drive the car. So I was pretty screwed in that sense, and there was really nothing I could do. I posted it in the AMG groups on Facebook, you know, asked around a lot, and pretty much the safest bet was to get a new oil cooler. So that's what I did. Cost almost $400 for a brand new OEM oil cooler online, and that one hurt, but it was good in the sense that these engines, the M156, especially in this body style, the C63, they get a little hot. They tend to get a little hot. And when I first got the car a couple days in, I was going pretty hard on it, and I guess the temps get hot, they rise, and I believe after 275 degrees Fahrenheit for the oil temperature, it goes into limp mode. So the car went into limp mode, and I thought I broke something. Something was going on. Little did I know that it was just a little too hot, and I thought that was just a common C63 thing, and that really bothered me. But of course, that oil cooler had 130,000 miles on it, so obviously it was going to function a little bit worse than when it did new. And luckily, kind of killed two birds with one stone. I fixed the own problem that I created with the new oil cooler, and now kind of helped the car breathe a little bit better. It temps stay a lot more reasonable. You know, it doesn't get as hot. It's never going to go into limp mode like that again. That was pretty odd because I was going hard on the car, but not too hard. But now my temps are a lot cooler, which is ideal. So those are the only issues I've had with the car. The brake caliper thing one was, I don't know, maybe it was some sort of fluke, something going on. Maybe when they replaced the brakes before I bought the car at the dealership, the actual Mercedes dealership, maybe something went on there. Don't know what's going on with that, but it happened, and luckily all the other calipers are good, knock on wood. And the oil cooler problem I created for myself, but it kind of worked out in the end because it helped a lot with my cooling and temperatures. And with all that said, let me go ahead and fire this baby up and pull it out in the sunlight and actually show you guys what she looks like outside. So it's got keyless. I've actually put these carbon fiber pedal extensions that I picked up from a friend. Helps a lot with the feel. It's just nice having a bigger paddle, but let's go ahead and start it up. Here we are inside the car. It's a very nice place to be. I've already done a couple videos on this car, but as you can see, we've got the instrument cluster up here, and the oil temps right now are blue because the car's not warmed up, so I can't really give you any revs. But I'll go ahead and insert some sound clips because I've already kind of messed with the exhaust. Actually, I've done a secondary cat delete, which helps a little bit with power, and increases the sound without really taking away that AMG bark, the AMG growl. Because I've heard a couple C63s, and when you do the resonator delete and start really messing with it, taking off mufflers and stuff, it really ruins the sound of the car. The OEM C63 mufflers are pretty much the best mufflers you could have on the car without spending a crazy amount of money. So I'm very happy with the secondary cat delete. You get a little bit more pops and crackles as well, but right now the downshifts are brutal with the secondary cat delete. And even for a stock exhaust, it was absolutely amazing. But the secondary cathode was just what I needed. So now that we're outside, you can see with the facelift, you get these beautiful LED taillights. You know, a little bit different diffuser piece down here. Down the line, I'd like to get a different, you know, hopefully bigger diffuser, a nice carbon fiber, maybe a ducktail or a lip spoiler. Hopefully gloss black the roof one day. I'm a huge fan of the wheels, so I love these wheels. Hopefully I can get a nice set of tires on them. Right now they've got some, you know, fairly cheap tires on them that my friend had before. He sold them to me, but a nice set of Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's on here would help a lot. And as you can see, we've got the YouTube and my Instagram Max Merc 63 sticker right here. We got the typical classic YouTube Max Merc banner on the back. Had the same thing on the C300, the CLS, the E36. You can actually see that the 3M paint protection film extends all throughout the mirror as well. So, you know, the previous owner of this car really did take really good care of this car, really loved this car, and put a lot of money into it. And as you can see here as well, I actually swapped out the corner light for an LED bulb as well as a clear housing because the original one's orange. I don't like it. This is a little bit more Euro, a little bit fits the car a little bit better. And as you can see right here, we got the LED C, or if you look on this one, it's actually shaped like a C. We got the active xenon headlights right here, the active curve illumination. Of course, the thing I love about the facelift is that everything is LED. As you can see, the daytime running light down there is LED as well as the turn signal. The only thing currently broken on the car right now is the one of the daytime running lights. So as you can see right here, you have this LED strip with the daytime running light. Looks very good, but if we come over to the driver's side, as you can see, half of it is out. So this other half should be illuminated as well, but right now only this half is on, the other half is dead. And the only way to remedy this is to get a whole new daytime running light, which is about $150 OEM, and I'm gonna do it. It's gonna hurt to spend $150 on a daytime running light. I could easily go in the computer and just disable the daytime running lights, but I actually really like the look of them, so I think it's worth it to spend that $150, you know, just to get this car looking 100%, because if you look at it when it's completely on and working properly, it looks beautiful. So you may be asking, why the C63? And there were a lot of other cars I was considering, and there were a lot of other cars that I really want, but at the end of the day, it comes down plain and simple to, I fell in love with the C63. It's just simple as that. About 5 years ago, if you scroll down to my first ever car review, it was of a 2008 C63. It was matte gray wrapped, Eurocharge tune, lots of carbon fiber bits. It was beautiful, and I absolutely fell in love with the sound of the car, the way it drove. You know, driving was new to me then as well, so that car was just insane. And you know, at around that time, the facelift and everything was, you know, still fairly new, and of course was, you know, unattainable for me at the time, being, you know, just starting off high school. But, you know, having the opportunity to film a review on that first car and drive it, you know, at that age really just kind of sparked something in me. And my goal was to buy one of these cars on my own by the time I graduated high school. And I kind of did that, kind of didn't, because I bought this car about a month after graduation. So before college, after high school graduation. So still by the time I was 18. So, you know, my goal was I wanted this car by the time I was 18. And you know, if you saw my last video, you know, my dream garage would have been a C63 and to have my CLK back, which I have the CLK back, and now we got a C63. But other cars I was considering was, you know, the CLS 55, the E55, you know, 335. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And I was gonna get an E55. I couldn't really come across the right one for the right price at that time, and this car just presented itself to me. And the way it was going to be was, if I could sell all those cars, then I could swing a C63. And I was able to sell the E36, the CLS, the C300 was my mom's, so I wasn't getting any money from that, but I used the money that I got from selling the E36 and the CLS as a down payment towards this car, and it was doable. And, you know, mostly thanks to you guys. Honestly, it comes down to one of those things that, if it weren't for YouTube, and I know I only have, you know, about 32,000 subscribers, but honestly, if it weren't for, you know, YouTube and you know, all the views that I get from you guys, and, you know, all the positive feedback, and just, you know, those of you who actually really love the Mercedes videos and they want to stick around and watch, you know, I really appreciate that. And you know, none of this would be possible without you guys. Okay, my mom just came home with the CLK, so quick interruption to the C63. CLK's back. We got the OEM wheels back on the car. Love the OEM wheels with a brand new set of Michelin Pilot Sport AS3 Pluses, all season tires. You know, Looks great on the car. I'm happy. I don't really like the fact that my mom is daily driving. I don't really want this car to be a daily driver, but it's hopefully gonna be for about 6 months, hopefully, just until maybe next spring, next summer. Hopefully we can get it into something else, maybe like an ML350 or like a 2016 C300. The W205 is the next gen. They've depreciated enough to, I think, it's a pretty good deal on the used car market. But back to the C63, driving it at that age, I just fell in love with the sound, the driving, everything. It was just the ultimate Mercedes to me, in the sense that it was such a big motor in such a tiny little C-Class, and that it actually handled arguably well for what it was. And it was just such a different car to everything else on the market at that time. The big 6.2 liter V8, it was just such a unique car, and everything about it, it felt like it was me. And I still feel like that now that I actually own it. The car, it just feels like me. It's luxurious, it's classy, yeah, it's fun, it's rowdy, it handles well, it screams, it slides, it drifts. It's just all those things, and that's what I love about this car. And I knew if I get like a 335i or I don't know, something else, that in the back of my mind I would always have the C63. And with this opportunity, with this car, despite being high mileage, just the fact that it has such a clean history, it's been such well maintained and preserved, the paint protection film, everything all about it, it was just the right time and place. And I got the car out the door for about around $22,000, which would have made it, I believe, the cheapest facelift W204 C63 with a 6.2 liter V8 in the nation at that time, and I'm pretty sure it still might be. Recently I've seen another one for around 21, but it had, it didn't have the full leather interior that this one does. This is a pretty highly optioned out car. The only other car that I really would have wanted was an E55 or a CLS 55, and I would have loved one of those cars. It would have been great. It's a whole different beast. The M113K, the supercharged, the engines, that would have been a great car as well. But at the end of the day, this is what was in my mind for the past 5 years, and I've been, one day hoping to get this car. And I did the video on that car, and in about 2017, my buddy Chase and I, who's popped up many times throughout my videos, him with his 20,000 mile 2004 E55 AMG. And I had a 2013 C63 AMG at the time that I borrowed. We did a video where we drove it to my high school at the time, the one where we drove 2 AMGs to high school, and no one cared. And that video did actually pretty successful. Once again, like I was saying earlier, before the CLK showed up, none of this would be possible without you guys. And that video did very well, and that just made me fall in love with the C63 even more. Driving that car for 2 days, just such an amazing machine. The gas kills me. The things that have broken, thank God I didn't have to pay for the caliper, but the oil cooler hurt, but it's okay. It's worth every penny at the end of the day, because that's what this car is about. This car is just about putting a smile on your face, and it really does. So I'd love to get it out on the road for you guys, go for a little drive, but like I said, this tire is not holding air right now, and I have to swap these over, and before I can do that I have to change the oil, so I might not get around to doing that today, being that the sun might set soon. But expect a whole lot of footage on this car, pretty much what it's going to be like to own the highest mileage pre-facelift C63 that I really know of at this point. And if you want to follow more closely, be sure to follow me at MaxMerc63 on Instagram. Let me know what kind of videos you guys want to see on this car, what kind of modifications. I'm hoping to tint it this weekend, hopefully, and then hopefully get a Eurocharge tune on the car, maybe around Black Friday, something like that. That'll bump up the numbers of this car from about 451 horsepower to about 540 horsepower to the crank. The secondary catalytic is roughly maybe like 10 horsepower, I don't know. I just know it helps a little bit, but definitely expect a lot of content on this car. The reason I bought this car, besides loving it, is that I want to make a bunch of content on it. Now I finally own a car that I really want to make a bunch of content on, because I love it so much. I did that with the cheapest CLS, and you guys enjoyed that, and I'm hoping to kind of take that to another level with this car on a kind of a longer term basis, and share my owner experience with this car, and everything about it. So if you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button, and subscribe for more. Let me know what you guys think of the car, and let me know what you guys want to see, and hopefully see you guys next time. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned.